right, this is a fascinating story about the First Amendment. 3 Glendale residents have sued the city for banning panhandling. So in the complaint filed in federal court, now the city, I believe, says they haven't received a lawsuit yet, but they are saying they filed it. There's 3 people, Amy Hughes, Denise Carr, and Gabriel Gilbert, said Glendale passed 2 ordinances in 2023 that were flagrantly unconstitutional and already struck down or withdrawn in cities that pass similar rules. The complaint cites the Glendale's panhandling ordinance, which prevents the solicitation of donations in public or near businesses, and the street and the median ordinance, which forbids pedestrians for stopping or remaining in the roadways or medians or traffic islands for any purpose other than waiting to cross the street. Violators receive a civil penalty for a first offense after a warning, and then a criminal penalty on the second offense within 12 months, which can include fines up to $2,500 and up to 6 months in jail. So do you have a First Amendment right to panhandle? That's a great question.
How is that your First Amendment right?
Again, you're right. It's like I have a First Amendment right, but does that mean I can do it everywhere? Are there limitations to what I can do?
Okay.
And that's the question. Is it if you say no one's outlawing panhandling, we're saying you can't stand in the median and do it. You can't stand outside of somebody's business and do it. You can't disrupt someone else's business. The other issue here is this really addressing the issue, the core of the issue, which is homelessness? You know? If just saying these nuisance laws push people somewhere else, it doesn't solve the problem. I'm not saying Glendale should be in charge of solving everybody's homeless problem, but what it's saying is don't do it in Glendale. We're going to make it uncomfortable for you. Go to Phoenix, go to Peoria, you know?
Well, and the way I see it, I've seen those signs before because I live around the area, and they say, that they have resources. They can go get help themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, they can. That kind of makes sense. Go get help where it's needed, where you can get it. But these people aren't wanting the help because that means they have to give up their, addictions or whatever they're going through on the streets.
And yeah, because in a lot of places, if you're not familiar, in a lot of places where panhandling happens frequently, some cities have erected signs in the median that say, don't give panhandlers money, donate that money to organizations that help people. And what they're basically saying is giving someone cash. A lot of times, if it's an addiction issue that they're facing, they're using it to feed their addiction. They're not getting food. They're buying drugs. They're buying alcohol.
So I see that is probably helping the homeless situation.
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes. It is. It's difficult because I understand, and I don't know how you've ever done it, but I don't feel guilt either way. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I don't either.
Like I've been at traffic lights.
Same.
And not said a word or anything to someone.
Exactly, not even had to acknowledge them.
But I also have to admit there have been some times where I've given somebody money.
Right. Same here.
And
or food.
So then someone wants you to feel guilty that you're feeding their addiction, and to me it's not that at all. One time, this was back when I was not a nice person.
What changed?
Nothing. It was a very nice day. I was in my work truck. I was coming home from work. The weather was very nice. Windows were open in the work van. And there was a guy that was panhandling on the freeway. It was on one of the freeway exits. And I was waiting at the light to turn left like everybody else at rush hour. And he was walking with a sign, and I know he just thought he was being clever. But the sign said, "I'm not going to lie. I need a beer." So he thought that was clever. So my window was down. I said, "Not going to lie, I've got money. I'm just not giving you any." See, not nice. That wasn't a nice thing to do.
It was clever.
But, yeah. But so...
But no, it's true. Like, I don't feel bad not giving them money. I just feel like, hey, if they want help, they'll go to the right place.
But I also think the reason why you and I don't feel bad about not giving them money is that we honestly are involved in helping in other ways. With other organizations. You know what I mean? We don't ignore the problem. We're not screaming, get a job. We're not we're actually involved in ways that are helping for real.
Yeah, a lot of people fall into those homeless situations. They can't help it. It's not their fault.
Right. And so for hungry families, again, we talk about St. Mary's Food Bank all the time. And I know homelessness is not always going hand in hand in hunger, and that's my point here. St. Mary's Food Bank, everybody just thinks that when you're feeding the hungry, a lot of times it's out making meals for homeless people. With St. Mary's Food Bank, the reason why I am such a big proponent of what they do, well, there's a number of reasons, but one of them is the working poor, which that's how I grew up for a part of my life. Is, there were times when we had very, very, very little food in my house. And I've told this story about a friend of my mother's bringing food to the house one day. And I mean, a full trunk full of groceries. And I remember my mother coming home from work and crying that all of her shelves were filled with food. And that had never happened for us before. We ate. It's not like we were starving kids, but we were the working poor. So when you have people out there that are working their tails off, and you've got an organization like St. Mary's Food Bank, or you've got people on fixed incomes, and because of inflation are finding themselves the most significant numbers in homelessness and in hunger, the growth is in elderly people. When you have organizations that are taking and getting 5 meals for $1, and they're filling the needs of thousands of people a week at 2 different locations in the valley, those are the organizations I want to promote and help, because they are the ones that are really fighting the core of the issue. St. Vincent de Paul and what they do to help homeless people, what St. Vincent de Paul does to help people with addictions and transitional housing and medical needs and everything else that they do, they are the ones that are fighting the core of the issue. I would much rather give of my money and my time to those organizations that are fighting the core of the issue. And that's what I think this goes to. But is Glendale within its rights to say, let's be honest, you can't be standing outside of somebody's business and panhandling. You can't do it. Now, if it's private property, they can kick you off. But what if it's a public sidewalk? What if you're standing in the median? Should they be allowed to say you can't?
I don't think it has anything to do with the First Amendment.
Well, they're saying that you have a right to stand where you want to stand in public and hold a sign. What if it was a protest sign? Would they be allowed to stand in the median and hold a sign that said, no,
it's dangerous.
Jesus is coming, whatever. So we'll see. They're filing the lawsuit. Will Glendale fight it, or will Glendale drop this law, these two initiatives?
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.